So let's talk about Bolivia because this was pretty recent, right? It happened at the beginning of the year, and when it happened, right? What you were saying earlier about Elliot Abrams talking to NatSec reporters from the New York Times is exactly what played out with the Bolivia situation. That the Organization of American States said this election, where Morales won, wasn't a legitimate election, which, by the way, they didn't even claim at the time to have any particularly direct evidence for. It was just this kind of like Nate Silvery, like, let's extrapolate backwards from the numbers. And, it's like, this seems unlikely, right, that it would play out this way. So they said it was no legitimate election. And then the military got involved and Morales is deposed. And there was like a month there where the completely like centrist, liberal, like reasonable person view was, well, we really shouldn't even talk about this as a coup because, Morales, well, he was a strong man, right? He had, he had authoritarian
He was a very
tendencies.
strong man. He had the big dick energy, very strong man. No, like I'll never forget this. This tweet is like implanted in my brain. I just looked it up because I had to like double check. And Clara Jeffrey, the editor of Mother Jones magazine at this time, tweeted out, she quote tweeted the New York Times story about this. And she goes, "Dicey times in Bolivia. Morales had taken several end runs around a democratic process, but let's hope it's a democratic process that succeeds him." And that is just like liberal brain in America, like what I was talking about, like, well, I don't know, like maybe something better will happen. It's just like,
no, that is amazing. That's like, they have that's like, well, I'm a little bit alarmed that Jack the Ripper is still at large, but let's hope that he stops killing people.
Right. Yeah. Maybe he will. Maybe we can reason with him, and it's hilarious because what Morales was accused of was not even of stealing the election. He was accused of not winning the election by a big enough margin to avoid a runoff. Like no one disputes that he got more votes than the other guy. Like that was never in dispute. The question is whether did he win by a margin of 10%, which would prevent a runoff from happening. That small kind of thing was proven to be bullshit. The OAS, which is obviously like no friend to the left. Like even the New York Times said that the OAS's report was bullshit. And since big time whoopsie. Since then, the Janine Áñez, who's this like far right sort of Christian fundamentalist who took power since then and has been promising elections, but keeps on kind of delaying them because despite the fact that Evo Morales is, outside of the country, basically living in exile, his party, the MAS party, is still leading in all the polls. So if they had the election, it looks likely that the MAS candidate would win. So therefore they keep on delaying the elections. And the latest thing is that now she's dropping out of the elections. She's pulling, to cite an American context, she's pulling basically a Pete Buttigieg because, like I said, in the Bolivian system, you need to win by 40, like you need to get at least 40% of the vote and win by 10% at least to avoid a runoff. It looks like the MAS candidate, the Evo Morales candidate, will get that in the first round because the sort of right-wing opposition is fractured. So what they're trying to do is like she's going to drop out. They're all going to throw their support behind the other guy, and hopefully that unites the right for them so that they can take the election at least to a runoff, in which case then all the right-wing forces will consolidate and stop the MAS party. But that's basically what's going on in Bolivia. Dicey times indeed for Clara Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, right. And the excuse has been that they can't have the election because of the coronavirus, right? That's like, which really, is such a golden thing for anybody who's in that space, right? That was like right after COVID started. Viktor Orban's party in Hungary did this thing about how, well, because this is an emergency, because of the pandemic now, he's the dictator and he can just do things by decree, and because like this is just what you have to do,
Gotta do it.
for public health. And even Trump kind of took a stab at it, right? I mean, it was half-hearted in the way that Trump tends to be, right? He doesn't follow through. It's really my biggest objection to Trump, the lack of follow through. But
No follow through.
But he tweeted out that little trial balloon. It's like, oh, COVID, yeah, maybe we should delay the election, But in Bolivia, that's actually happened multiple times, right? Because they just care so damn much about the COVID response,
protecting,
even though the actual COVID response has been catastrophic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.